Okay, here's the continuation of Mercy Watson. Something Wonky This Way Comes. Chapters 8 through 11. Follow along with me as I read. If you feel really good about your ability to read, then you can just turn my volume down. Here we go. Hey now, said Alfred P. Tompkins. Speaking of pigs, isn't that a pig right there? Where? Said Francine Poulet. There, said Alfred P. Tompkins. He pointed at the pig that was trotting past the truck. The pig had its snout up in the air. The pig looked very happy. That, said Francine Poulet, is the pig from Decawoo Drive. I have dealt with that pig before. I wonder what a pig is doing at the movies, said Alfred P. Tompkins. That's a good question, said Francine. That's the kind of question that only an animal control officer can answer. Fascinating, said Alfred P. Tompkins. Don't make any sudden movements, said Francine Poulet. She reached into the back of her truck. She grabbed her net. If you want to see an animal control officer in action, said Francine Poulet, follow me. Fascinating, said Alfred P. Tompkins. Simply fascinating. I'm right behind you. Mercy stopped. She sniffed. The smell of butter was very strong. The smell of butter was very near. The smell of butter was coming from the back seat of a station wagon. Mercy stuck her head in the window. She sniffed again. The smell of butter was coming from an extremely large bucket in the hands of a very small child. Mercy helped herself. The small child screamed, Papa, Papa, a monster is eating my popcorn. Mercy chewed. The popcorn was drenched in butter. It was delicious. A man stuck his face in Mercy's snout. What do you think you're doing? The man said. What did Mercy think she was doing? She thought she was enjoying a buttery snack. Get out of here! Shouted the man. He gave Mercy a very forceful shove. Popcorn went flying everywhere. Mercy thought that perhaps it was time to move on. In the front row of the Bijou Drive-In, Officer Tommylello sat up straight in his seat. Officer Tommylello said, Did you hear that? Mrs. Officer Tommylello said nothing. Was that a scream of distress? Said Officer Tommylello. It sounded like a scream of distress, he answered himself. Is someone in trouble? Officer Tommylello asked. Mrs. Officer Tommylello said nothing. It's very possible that someone is in trouble, Officer Tommylello answered himself. Is it time for an officer of the law to step in? Officer Tommylello asked. Most definitely, he answered. Officer Tommylello put his badge around his neck. He got his bullhorn from the back seat. He kissed Mrs. Officer Tommylello goodbye. He said, "Am I off to make the world a safer place?" "I am," he answered himself. "I am most definitely off to make the world a safer place." Mrs. Officer Tommylello waved goodbye. Mercy discovered that there was hot buttered popcorn everywhere. Every car had big buckets of popcorn. Every car had open windows. The popcorn was buttery. The popcorn was crunchy. The popcorn was delicious. Mercy helped herself. She helped herself again and again. People screamed. People laughed. People fainted. Mercy kept eating. In the meantime, Mr. Watson and Frank returned to the convertible with several bottomless buckets of popcorn. Mrs. Watson was crying. "My darling, my dear," said Mr. Watson, "what is wrong?" "It's a tragedy," said Mrs. Watson. "I wouldn't exactly call it a tragedy," said Eugenia Lincoln. "Mercy is missing," said Stella. "Don't worry," said Mr. Watson. "We'll find her." "I'll wait here if you don't mind," said Eugenia Lincoln. She helped herself to some hot, buttered popcorn. To be continued. Which characters in this video had a tool from their job in their car? Who had the bullhorn? Who had the net? How did people feel when they saw Mercy at the theater? How would you feel if a pig showed up to eat your popcorn at a movie theater? What would your parents do if a pig started eating your popcorn at a movie theater? Ask them. Write about your answers to question 5 and 6 if you'd like. How many vehicles are mentioned in this video? What are they? Whose are they?